In the last few months, one could say I've been on a bit of a PA Works kick. I've been watching a few of their shows mostly because I hadn't really looked at much of their stuff before then. Their shows tend to have a pretty distinct style, as many of their series contain signature character designs, barring a few exceptions, and their amazing background design. The type of show commonly associated with them is the high school drama, of which they've made many, some of which involve more otherworldly elements, like Charlotte does, while others are more grounded, like Hanasaku Iroha is. But I believe that out of all the high school dramas I've seen from PA Works, the best of them is none other than Tari Tari. Now, why is that the case? Well, Tari Tari focuses on a girl named Konatsu who has this big dream of wanting to sing in her last high school recital. She seeks redemption after making such a fool of herself the year prior. The problem is that the vice principal is somewhat strict and she won't let Konatsu sing in the school's choir. So, Konatsu comes up with the brilliant idea of trying to get a group together to form her own choir, eventually dubbing it the Choir and Sometimes Badminton Club, so she can accomplish what she sets out to do, as well as help out the other members in the process. So what exactly did Tari Tari do better than the other PA Works high school dramas both before it and after it? In other PA Works shows, there's always at least one or two characters that I feel are not all that well fleshed out, and I can have a hard time understanding where they come from and why they feel the way they do. With Tari Tari, this is not the case. Each character has their own reason for being in the choir and sometimes badminton club, and each character's own input is valued. In spite of Konatsu mainly being the reason the club formed, each member adds their own quality to the club, and it becomes less about just accomplishing Konatsu's dream, and more about helping each other out and helping them all accomplish their respective goals. Wakana does share Konatsu's interest in music, though her reasons are a bit different. To avoid going into spoiler territory, it's more about Wakana trying to rekindle her love of music, and face what's been haunting her this entire time. Sawana's passion is in horseback riding, and her main conflict is trying to pursue that as a career, when her father believes that she can't be successful at having that as a job. Taichi is very focused on badminton, and his major dream is to be able to play in those championships, but what's holding him back is a lack of support from friends, since badminton isn't really all too popular within the school, so no one's really willing to join his club. Then there's Wien, the transfer student, and while his goal isn't so much in the way of a concrete job, his focus is more on being a hero, being one who's helpful, being one who's a leader, and finding a way in this new club to be of help. What I find especially great about this cast is that there's always an extra dimension to the conflicts. The people in the protagonist's sway aren't necessarily bad people, in fact, many of them are well-meaning. Sawa's father, for example, doesn't hate the idea of Sawa riding on horses, and supports her in that regard, but he just wants her to be successful too. The main problem is that he doesn't see a way to make a career out of horseback riding. He doesn't see it really as anything more than just a fun hobby to have. The vice principal preventing Konatsu from joining her choir club, while strict, does have a darker past that gives reason as to why she thinks the way she does. There's even an extra dimension to their well-meaning principal, who gets a sense that he isn't there enough for his students, in spite of being very supportive of their endeavors. Mostly because he's always sick or always in the hospital, so the vice principal is usually the one in charge, not him. Now, how does that stack up against other PA Works dramas? Well, the big problem that I have with a lot of them is the character drama. The conflicts can sometimes have a tendency to feel too overblown or unearned. Nagi no Asukara, for example, while it had many strong moments, also had its fair share of scenes that felt like too much, and it got, to be honest, quite ridiculous. In Tari Tari, a majority of the conflicts always feel like they have the right amount of weight to them, and I never got a sense that the characters were making something out of nothing. I got why they were so passionate in what they felt, and that's very important to have in a character drama. Furthermore, the show has very little romance, and the romance that is there is comparatively subtle, without feeling shoehorned in. One of my major gripes with some dramas, not just from PA Works, anime dramas in general, is how romance is treated. Some shows it feels like all these high schoolers ever talk about is love, love, love. Oh, I like this guy. "Oh, do you like him? No, I like someone else." It's just too much all the time. There's nothing wrong with a good romance story, but it's just nice to have something that's a little different from the norm I've come to expect. The show's main storyline may be a bit simpler in comparison to PA Works' other shows. I certainly can think of a few other shows with its premise, but I also believe it was given the right amount of duration for its premise. While I felt like Hanasaku Iroha didn't really need to be 26 episodes long, and Charlotte was insane for attempting to do what it set out to do in 13 episodes, Tari Tari feels very fitting in its 13-episode runtime. All the major loose ends are tied by the end of the series, and while there's still room for more, I never felt like the show overstayed its welcome. It got in, did what it needed to do, did it well, and left with a very satisfying conclusion. Did it have some flaws? Well, like many PA Works shows, the humor felt comparatively a bit too silly for the grounded nature of the series, in particular with that bike chase scene early on in the show, and I felt like some of the characters could have had a better conclusion to their story arc. Furthermore, I don't think Konatsu's relationship with her brother was all that interesting, and in reality, didn't really need to be there, honestly. But as a whole, it was a solid series, and in my opinion, not only a standout in PA Works' catalog, but for anime high school dramas in general. Especially considering how derivative the high school setting can feel in anime from time to time. So with that in mind, I would definitely give it a recommendation. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, feel free to give it a like, as well as subscribe if you'd like to see similar content in the future. Discord links in the description if you'd like to chat. And as always, I'll catch you later next time.